Greetings and welcome to Smartwatch Ticks. It's an exciting day today. Well, actually it's a rainy day outside today and it isn't all that exciting what I'm about to show you, but we're going to do the best we can. I'm going to be telling you about this watch that just came in. It's a LEMFO watch. And, well, the nicest feature is the band. It's really smooth. It's that TPU style. And if you've ever touched the TicWatch band, you'll think it's like that when they talk about it being liquid. Yeah, really nice band. Not removable. Okay, that's the review. Thanks for watching. You want to know more? I don't have a lot more good to say. Well, you want to hear it anyway, all right? Let me tell you what we're looking at because I really do appreciate our support from our sponsors. Gearbest, who sent us this LEMFO LF17 Android watch and currently has it on flash sale for $70. Yeah, well, that's if you buy it in black. This is a trick you got to learn, you know, if you're shopping and not using my links, but trying to shop else, just Googling it. The black one's that price. The silver one, currently exact same thing, is $101. So make sure you're looking at all the different colors if you want to get the best price on flash sale. Or, of course, check our show notes down below and we'll get you coupons whenever we can. Why am I not literally sounding a whole lot excited about this watch? Well, let me tell you. Okay, a really cool thing about it is it has a TF card. Yeah, that's the microSD card. You can put it in and expand the memory up to 32 gigabytes. And boy, you're going to want to, because look, it's a 512 megabyte, 4 gigabyte ROM. Now, the sad news about this is a long time ago, 512. Everything is at least 1 gigabyte, and watches are coming out with 2 nowadays. With 512, you have a very limited amount of space, and you notice sometimes lag in the apps. And anyway, 1 gigabyte is pretty much, that's going to be my cutoff for reviewing watches anymore, unless they have some weird special thing about them. This is just too small, not in 2017. And 4 gigabytes is unheard of. Folks, I don't care if you put in a terabyte memory card, if it would handle it. Your apps have to live inside of an internal partition of memory that's within the 4 gigabytes. So in that 4 gigabytes, you have to have the operating system, Android 5.1. You have to have the firmware that the company puts in to make it run. And you have to have a little partition set aside that you can load APKs into, because the apps live in there. The APK files are just used for loading, and then you can dump them. Yeah, you can put them all on here, but when you actually install them in the watch, they live on here. You know what? You can get maybe 5 or 7 apps on this watch, and that's about it, and not any of the big ones. And that's been true since 2016, when we started seeing 4 gigabyte memory watches coming out. Oh goodness, they could actually hold a few apps. Now we're getting 16 gigabytes regularly. 1 to 2 gigabytes RAM, 16 gigabytes ROM. Don't buy a watch, unless you really like this one, that has a letter less than that, because you're going to be frustrated like I am, as I'm about to show you when I show you what I tried to do installing apps in this. It's an Android 5.1 running a screaming, are you ready? 1.000 gigahertz dual core. All right, maybe you're going to get really good battery life out of this thing, being that small a memory, that tiny of a processor, and did I mention a 240 by 240 screen? Oh yeah. LCD? Oh yeah. Why am I reviewing this? Camera? No. No camera. Okay, you get the picture? Maybe you're lucky if you see the WCDMA supports, well, 850 and 2100. That might work in some of the places. Nice to see 900, 950, 18, 1900. GSM, of course. You can get your basic phone calling. Data is going to be challenging, to say the least, with this watch as well. So we've got an interesting blend of horrifically old technology in an Android 5.1 standalone smartwatch. Does have a SIM card, does have the TF card, but you know what? We've reviewed a couple of other ones that have had that, and they've had a camera on them, for goodness sakes. You see that on the Finaw Q7? You see that on the YYS1? Now, I could see getting a half megabyte and 4 gigabyte RAM if you're looking at these kind of watches, because you got a camera and you can put your video and your pictures right on that SD card, and as long as you don't need apps on these things, you're probably good to go. So these were all right, even though they're very low internal memory devices with little RAM. But where's the camera? What am I gonna do with the TF card? Put a bunch of songs on it? Put some pictures on it that are gonna be glorious on a 200 by 200 LCD screen? Yeah, okay. New watch for Grandma. Let's turn it on. We gotta push and hold. I had it on earlier, had it all charged, and I've actually worked with this thing extensively. I loaded up my whole portfolio of testing apps. Antutu, the speed test app. We could check our Wi-Fi speeds, all that good stuff. And then I've had to eliminate them one by one because I found that they won't run on here in the 240 by 240. If I tried to do speed tests, you can't see the results. Really strange stuff going on. But nonetheless, it's an Android watch. It's an Android watch, folks. Android 5.1. If this thing would tether to your phone and you could make phone calls as a tethering watch, I'd say buy it no matter what it's got. But no, it's like all the other Android watches. It doesn't support that at all. So you got some pretty nice watch faces, and they do look pretty good. Not really super sharp, but they look okay in 240 by 240. And there's a few of them in here. And these are different ones you haven't seen yet before, so we're going to walk through them, let you have a look. Most of them are kind of black and white. There's an interesting black outline, making a bezel within a bezel within a bezel. Here's the classic LEMFO active watch face. We have seen that, I think, since about 2016. On their watches. Shows us our charge and a funny kind of digital time with a lightning bolt going. That's one of their favorites to put on their watches. And we've seen that before. These are all custom watch faces that were developed years ago that have been added to the listing. Now, while we have that one up, that's got kind of a full screen, you notice the black bezel. See the black bezel edge around there? When we hover it in there, you've got black around it. Then you've got the actual black bezel. This is not the silver one. You'd see silver there. And then you've got this kind of black edge, and then you've got the full watch itself. So check out from here to here, and look how much of the watch is active in the center compared to the diameter of your watch. It does make it look like it's a nice small screen watch. But when you put it on, that's what it looks like. Not too bad, but it's not like a really teeny watch either. And the silver highlights with the black running through for the bands, that kind of dresses it up a little bit, huh? All right, not looking too bad for a watch. Couple more. Oh, here's one that you can see some fine detail there, but it's not as crisp as when we've seen that on a 400 by 400 pixel, right? Yeah, it's more like highlights now instead of actual readable numbers. There's some more of these traditional watch faces. If you want to see any of these, they're on a bunch of different watches we've shown. Here's the minus sign. This is where you have the downloadable section right here at the very end, where you can hit the plus sign and it'll show you a bunch of different watch faces that you can download from their server. These are all those, and we'll just show you a few that you can download that are kind of fun to play with. If you want something wild that's definitely going to draw attention to your arm, that one's available to you. No installation really required. This is in that server. You just do the plus sign and say accept it, and it's there. This is a 24-hour watch, and it does work on this one. Right now, it turns out that the minute and hour hand are right at the same time, 13:35 or so. So it's about 1:35 in the afternoon, but they're lining up right there, and it does do the 24-hour time. I've seen this watch face put on other watches that don't support that, and it's giving you a 12-hour readout on a 24-hour clock. I don't know. They just put it on the server, so it'll work on some, it won't work on others. Okay, so that's what we're looking at for the watch. There's the bezel. See the white around the edge? This one fits right in the middle of it. And you still have a little bit of black around that, and then, of course, the bezel itself. What have we got? If I swipe down, that's where we would normally see notifications. If I swipe up, this is where we see these four little areas where you have the power and the date, and tells you if you have Wi-Fi on or cellular. You have this one with a limited number of these icons. This is where you can have the zoom display, so third-party apps will live in a square or full circle. You have Bluetooth over here, Wi-Fi. This funny-looking thing that looks like an upside-down top hat is actually, if you imagine it being a watch, with that being the band and that being lights coming out of the surface of the watch, that's your twist arm to see time activator. And then over here is power saving. You have 3 different brightness levels. Brightness is changed, and brightness is changed again, and not a whole lot. So you know what? I tried to put the display brightness on here, but because it's 240 by 240, I could not get into any of the parameters to change them and even move the thing, which is on the top, over to the side, or set it up to auto boot, or any of the things we do with that app. So that app is totally useless on this watch. By the way, we have a little cover. I may as well pull that off right now. Little plastic cover. The next one is a clean all. You don't have the ability in some of these Android 5.1 implementations to go to the very bottom and bring up all your active apps and either slide them off or switch to another one dynamically or hit one button that clears them all out. This thing says clean all. And we've seen this on a few different of these Android 5.1 watches. This particular version, it cleans, but we don't know what it cleaned. We don't know if it shut off all the background apps. I think so. But don't know really what else it's doing. It's supposedly helping with power, I guess. And then weather, which I'm not getting any weather hookup with GPS on, with Wi-Fi on, none of that stuff. So I'm not able to connect into the server with this watch and get the weather either. Those are those 4 things that come when you slide up. When you slide this way, or when you slide that way, you get into this whole looping group of things, of which the first ones have to do with the SIM card. You have dialing, your contacts, and your SMS text messaging. Then you have your heart rate stuff related to the sensor here. Then you have a sports section, which is all of your pedometer information that you're going to set up. Your gender, there's the dots over there, your height, your weight, your age. And this is cool, your step size. So if you put in your accurate step size, when it counts your steps and tells you your distance, it's going to be closer to being accurate than the generic one that they all usually pick. That's nice. That is part of this Android 5.1 that you see on other watches as well. And you can confirm your settings, and you're done. And that's all the sport. Then you have apps, and then you have settings, and then you're back to the watch face. So you see it loops to the left and the right. When you go into your settings, you have basic Wi-Fi, turn on and off, connectivity, which is where you have your Bluetooth. You can go into airplane mode, turn on GPS. It really doesn't have anything to do to connectivity, but that's where they put it. And your virtual private network, if you want to set one of those up. You have an emergency contact, which is where you can put in the add your contact to this so that when you press and hold the button, you could tap that and make an SOS phone call directly. And this is the setup for that, which is in the settings under emergency contact. Your date and time is basic. You can get it from the network. You can use automatic time zone. You can change AM, PM. Your display is pretty much basic. Your brightness level slider is here. That's the lowest it goes, not totally dim, and that's the brightest. I'm going to put it somewhere about there for the video. Your sleep time is adjustable from 30 minutes down to 15 seconds. And your interface style, this is where you can default it to be round or square for your apps. Again, you can get to it from that other direction as well. Your default clock is where you pick your watch face, which is the same as pressing and holding it. Your wallpaper clock, I have no idea about that. These are some custom faces that I had installed, and these are little segments from it. But I guess any image could become your wallpaper clock. You can have it display unread notifications on your watch screen, which is just an icon that tells you have notifications that you should go take a look at them. Your sound volumes are adjustable, and it's loud. Good loud watch. Speakers right there. And so forth and so forth. Alarms. Done. So we got good sound out of that. Notification, default notification sounds, whatever you want that to be. You can change it. Default watch ringtone, of course, same thing. Got a good selection in here. You can change those, or you can have vibrate. Then you've got your power savings, where you have, you can turn it on or off. You can adjust the palming bright screen. I'm not sure what that is. Palming would be like putting your palm over it. Don't know, maybe there's a sensor in there. On screen automatically disconnected. I think that will disconnect your apps that are running in the background, or when the screen turns off, so they're not using up power. It's all part of the overall power savings thing. Text to speech. You can turn that on, and supposedly now when you touch the microphone, it will convert your speech to text. Wait a minute. Text to speech is the other way around. It will read your text to you, right? Okay. Resetting the device, uninstalling apps, and more settings, which give you information about your battery, which is just that round circle, not really what apps are using a lot of power. Your language and input, all the languages that are supported are here. We'll show you those, because I know a lot of you are watching from all over the world, and I keep getting interesting questions about whether certain languages are supported. So the best is just to show you all of them. And there they are. Quite a few. Wow. Okay. They're heavy on the language, that's for sure. You can change your keyboard to a personal one if you want to. Also, I think this keyboard is one of the nice ones that has the microphone on it, the English US Android keyboard. Normally it's just a pin me. Google Voice typing. And this is all in shaded white on white, so it's very hard to read. And again, you have to have 1 gigabyte of RAM in order for the Google Voice typing to actually function, really at all, and definitely offline. And that's our information on language and input. Security is where you could actually put a screen lock passcode on your watch if you wanted to. The call settings all have to do with things related to a SIM card, if you put that in and use it for standalone calls. Messaging is your default message app, and you can mute that. Your apps are all of the apps that you've installed, third-party apps, and these are the ones that I have in here right now, and I can't put any more. It's all full up with just YouTube and Antutu and a couple of others. Sad. About this equipment tells you that we are running an LF17 with Android 5.1, and these are the numbers. If you're looking to check your build number against these from 2015, it looks like. This is 2017 for the kernel version, build number, and custom build version. Again, you can check for wireless update by touching here, And if there's an OTA waiting, which there is on this watch, that's right, I wanted to hold off and show you this. There's a new version of it out, and that's the size, 8.72. I hope there's enough memory for it to be installed, considering that I've got all those apps in there already. But I'll go ahead and say install now. Say OK. It's going to unzip the package if there's enough memory, and it's going to reboot. And then it'll install that into the watch. So that's how you do an update to your firmware. If there is one that's available, is check that update area, and now you've actually gotten to see how it works. Usually it'll go ahead and download in the background, which is what had happened here. Once I got connected to Wi-Fi, it went and checked on its own, and it downloaded it. Now it's going through the process of installing. I'm going to stop this and come back when it's all finished. Well, it's been about 10 minutes so far, and it's not doing anything. There's a soft glow to the screen, and it's warm, so I know the power's on. So while we wait for the watch to come back to us, let's see what else is in the box. I didn't finish the unpacking. There's that piece, and then there's that piece, and then there's this piece. Now, if things weren't good enough for this watch, let me tell you that it uses a non-traditional, non-standard charging caboodle. This thing, it's got a USB port, but it's got this curved and bent adapter, which is going to be not that easy to find a replacement. And the weird thing is, on these 512 4 gigabyte Android 5.1 1 gigahertz watches that are coming out this late in the game, they're all using this. Yeah, that's what you see here on my holder. There's another one here for the Final Q7, and that's the same exact thing here on the YYS1, or the S1 sometimes called. So on these ones that have the TF card, they're using this thing. So my guess is the build inside is identical, because you've got that. Oh, look, it is. It's finally coming up. All right, that's good. It's got that curved thing to put it in, but you don't have a full dock. You've got this little strange part dock thing. Get yourself an extra one of these. I would recommend, no matter which of these 3 watches you get, because it's not a common thing to find. But now you know 3 different watches that use it, so you could try to find the spare from any of the places that have that or make that watch. Okay, it's still booting up, so we'll continue working our way through here. We have a welcome guide from LEMFO with customer support information and their technical support email, which is good. Good to see the company has that kind of support to it. Here's a screen protector thingy you can put on, and then here's the overall manual. Good, it's in English. All right. So let's walk through that so you get a chance to see it. Notes. Maybe I've got it backwards. Have I got it backwards? No, the other side's Chinese. So it starts out with the notes. Okay, so you've got that part. Here you go, some more. The power button on the side. It shows you where the TF card and the SIM card go inside. Again, it's really sad that we don't have a camera on this one, or some reason to make good use of 32 gigabytes of memory, because you're not going to load it up with a whole bunch of apps. They won't run. The apps need to load into the internal memory, which is very limited. Okay, and there's a QR code in the back for scanning to connect it with the tethering app that goes with this. And that's all that's in the box. And it's still booting up. Well, this is not unusual. The first time after a factory restore or a firmware update, it literally has to unpack and install all of that. So it's running in the background for that. I'll go ahead and pause this thing again, and we'll come back when it's here. Well, that took like forever, but it's back, and there's the current build number on it, and that's the latest update. Check again, checking, and the device is up to date. Okay, that, folks, finishes everything that has to do with settings. The last category is apps, right? Let's go into here. You've got a music app. Thank goodness you're going to want a music app with the SD card capability, right? Because what else are you going to put on it? Pictures? I don't think so. A basic sound recorder. We've done those before. Your voice search. Hello? What time is it in London, England?
The time in London, UK is 1:08 a.m.
Alrighty, there you can see the Google thing coming in. We then have the watch helper, which is, of course, the information for when you are tethered to your phone. And for tethering information, you can download from that QR code the associated app and check it out. And that's all I'm saying about tethering. You got a weather icon, which of course says no weather, and it'll spin forever because I'm not able to connect to the server. You've got alarms. You've got an app store, which is their own app store, not the Google Play Store. So even without a Google account, you could actually go in here and get Facebook and WhatsApp and YouTube and stock quotes and so forth. Now, things like Chrome and YouTube and other Google products, I'm sure you're going to need to log into Google to be able to use them. But for now, you could actually download them here if there's enough memory in the watch. I don't even think you could download all of these without busting your memory, let alone any more in 512 megabytes with everything else in there. Barometer doesn't work, of course, because it's tied to the weather. Let's see if we can change this brightness a little bit by lowering the brightness here. Did that do it? Not really. So we are going to get out of here and go over here to settings and go down to the display and go to brightness and turn it all the way down and try and get some reasonable brightness that I can show you these apps with the barometer. Is it a little bit more legible? All right, but it's still not moving. We have a basic browser. We have a basic calendar. You can't enter any data on the calendars. You got the download folder if you choose to download anything. And I think this just goes to a downloads on your internal card. It's not like the file manager, which is right here. And the file manager is where you can actually gain access to all of the different folders you've got. And this is just showing your internal folders at this point. There's the technology apps that I've put in to try to install. But like I said, a lot of them wouldn't actually load. And when they load to the internal memory. Beyond that, we've got a gallery if we have any pictures in here. And I have a few pieces of pictures from some watch faces. Like here's one of the sun. And you can see it in there. It was used as a clock face. If I double tap, I can zoom in. So it's got the double tap zoom. Double tap zooms out. Okay, so that's nice at least. It does not have the pinch and zoom, but it does have that double tap zoom. And I can't get out of it, so we come all the way back to the watch face when you hit the one button and start all over from the top, going over to apps. At least it's leaving me where I'm at gallery. Google is your regular Google app, so you can set up Google Now and all those things and say the OK term, to get it to activate right from there. The actual Google Play Store is part of it. And those are all the installed apps that come with it. Now, the ones that I put in, the few of them are down here. AIDA64 gives you some information about the device. Here's what we already know. It's got running a 1.0, basically, dual-core processor, MediaTek 6572. And the CPU and the memory and the clocks are all in here. What's supported, what's not supported. Okay, that's that page. 240 by 240 display at 2.83 inches. So it's a smaller display. It definitely would work for a smaller wrist. if all the other objections that I've highlighted are overlooked. Telephony, battery, I'm at 87%, which isn't too bad considering it's been running constant for quite a while, doing that firmware update and everything. We're running Android 5.1 and so forth. So that's the AIDA 64. Then I've got the Antutu benchmark, which I have already run on this. It does not run the 3D graphics, unfortunately, but we wouldn't expect that anyway on either this smaller screen, this smaller processor, or the limited amount of memory. But with all that said, we're getting right at 12,000 for the Antutu rating, reminding you that the 2 gigabyte, 16 gigabyte quad core watches get about 20,000 to 22,000. And YouTube basically works if you're on a Wi-Fi connection. Noticing I'm having to touch everything 2 or 3 times to get them to launch. There. Discover what's trending. I don't know. Here's a video. What is it? Oh, my finger was over the speaker. Sorry. Okay. So YouTube works. The MTK engineering mode will let us check the location-based services for the GPS, which is off the screen, you notice, because I don't have it in the square. And I can't get to the square by pressing and holding. I just get to there, which isn't where I want to be. So it's a little bit of a pain to switch back and forth, but it can be done. We're going to say turn on, and it's active. Now if I go to view, it shows you the satellites. So it's picking up the satellites. You got to walk outside pretty much to acquire the signal, which then pops across the bottom. And it's adequate. It's nothing to write home about. If it were, it would be popping in satellites right now. Nor is it dead and doesn't work at all, which we've seen on some watches. But as far as an app that you can test GPS on your own, this engineering mode MTK shortcut will do that for you. Gesture search is an app that isn't available anymore from Google, but it's one that I use from time to time. Settings search gets you better and deeper access into all of the apps that you may want to work with. If you go into accessibility, you can come down here to your magnification gestures. You could turn them on, except the turn on button is in the upper right hand corner, and there's no way to get to it, whether it's in a square or round, because on the 240 by 240 screen, it's inaccessible. And that introduces the first issue that I'm really seeing. These are all other options down here with this overall watch, is that the 240 by 240 screen is not allowing us to run very many of the apps at all, because a lot of them require a larger screen. Now, that's not necessarily the watch's fault. I think the minimum requirement that Google sets for apps is 360 by 360, and this is smaller than that. And so this issue might show up on all of the different 240 by 240 screens, but it's certainly annoying on this one. So I'll just kind of leave it at that point. And those are all the apps that are in here, including a few of them that I've installed. So what's a good thing about this watch? The band. The band feels really nice, but it's not removable. The design is kind of sweet. It's got a futuristic Tron kind of thing, if Tron is futuristic, right? It's a smaller one, so it would work as a profile for a smaller wrist, a woman's wrist. And it's got small everything. So maybe with the battery in here, it might last a little longer than the ones that have all the bells and whistles. But I want to mention that at a price of $101 for this thing in silver, or at its Gearbest special price, right? Flash sale price of $69. Because it's Gearbest and I work a lot with them and they work with me, I'm going to show you the current, right now, price of the Gearbest Final Q7. Same basic thing. Oh, excuse me. The Q7 Plus It's still got the 512 memory, but they bumped it from 4 to 8 gigabytes. It has an onboard camera, and it has a price that's much more attractive to a 512 by 4 gigabyte 240 screen with no camera. I usually don't like disc watches, but this is a wash. I'm not sure I would really recommend this one, but if you really like it, check the show notes. Flash price here. If I can get you a better one than that, I definitely will list it there for you, but strongly consider as an alternative the Q7 to the LF17. You've been watching Smartwatch Tics. I'll be back with something impressive real soon.